What's up everyone, it's Tuesday morning and it's time for the first run of the week. Okay, so we're going to be doing the 10k today, which is the longest run we've done so far by about 1k. So yesterday I went on Strava for the first time in a while, where you check like everyone else's runs, how fast they were, etc. And I hadn't been on it in 5 days because I'd been in Spain. And I saw that my friend Chris had already done a half marathon when we're not even supposed to do it until 1.5 months later. And he did it with a better pace than I did the 8k we did last week. So I'm pretty fuming at that. It's given me the motivation to go hard today, get longer, do the 10, hopefully get a decent pace in it as well. I have changed the route as well today because the route I usually do is very hilly. Like the whole, like 3/4 of it is uphill. And I think that's massively nerfing my pace and my morale basically in the run. So this one is not only longer and it's more like circular, but it is supposed to be flat as well. So hopefully my legs won't hurt as much, so recovery will be better and I'll get a quicker time. But we're just approaching the start of it now, so let's get started. So I'm nearly finished ending off my first lap because I thought the circuit was 10k for one lap, but apparently it's not, and you have to do 2 laps. So that's a bit upsetting, but we've just got to do what is required to get the job done. Okay, so that tree in the middle down there, don't know if you can see it, but that signifies 1 lap. So that'll be 5k, and then we've got another lap to go. We're back here again. All right, we're approaching the halfway mark for the second lap. I feel like I kept a pretty good pace, to be honest, but I will say that looking at my phone and trying to record things massively disrupts the rhythm and the breathing that I get into. It's probably best off if I didn't do it very, very often. Coming up on the finish now. Gonna go for a sprint finish, see what time we can get. Okay, just completed the first run. Look how sweaty I am. That felt really good, honestly, that felt really good. One of the biggest things I noticed is when I'm not being slowed down by mud, hills, or aching muscles from leg day, I'm actually so much faster. I think being in the pattern of breathing helps so much. Because I noticed that before, whenever I would blow my nose or take out this to record some stuff and like talk, it disrupts not only my pace with my legs, but also my breathing pattern so much. And it would take a lot of energy to get back into that pattern again. Really just focusing today, because it was a longer run, and being able to get in the same pattern for a long time made it so much easier to like not get tired and to run for longer. But yeah, I'm actually so gassed with that. Like that's the longest I've done, and it was the quickest pace I've ever set as well. So it just goes to show how much better I am when I'm in the zone and focused. Alright, so we're back home now after the cold shower, which was really nice after running because it was actually really warm out today. I think it was 17 or so degrees. But also I'm really proud of the run I did today because it was the longest one and it was the quickest run I've ever done. I think it just goes to show how fast I could actually be when I'm not being nerfed by like recording and being out of tempo, the hills, the mud, and etc, etc. So I think this is going to be my new standard now. I think I've grown a lot just in this one session and realized what does and doesn't work for me. Since the first runs, I've been timing them not brilliantly. Like most of the time, my legs would still be sore. I think I've just not been giving myself the best conditions to play with so far. So now I'm going to hone in on my schedule, my timetable, and actually create the best conditions for myself where I can actually train to the best extent that I can. So the actual 10k race in Malmö is coming up in approximately 9 days, a bit more than a week. So I've done the 10k today, and I think I'm going to smash that easily. I think we got 53 minutes today or something. Under 50 minutes would be great in the actual race. I think we can aim for under 50 minutes. That would be really good actually. But now I know I can do a 10k pretty comfortably. I need to up the length and the distance again and try and keep the same pace. But yeah, that's the plan. All right, so I'm just going to the gym now. And for the first time in about, I don't know, like 6 months, other than this morning when I went for a run, I'm wearing a t-shirt out normally. Genuinely have not been able to do this since like September, and for once it's like 19 degrees, so I'm really enjoying this weather. It's not going to stay like this, it's going to rain and drop back down to 10 later this week. I'm going to enjoy it for now and maybe even have a couple of barbecues this week. How's it going? Okay, so it's Friday today, just come back from my lecture. It was really cool actually. There was like an international event kind of in the building where I study. Loads of different stalls set up with various different countries, different foods. I will admit, tried probably a bit more food than I should have done, but that's fine. Getting cultured, getting the knowledge. So my plan was to come straight back home and start running. That's why I'm dressed for the occasion. However, it's raining now, which obviously isn't a huge deal, but I think I'm gonna wait a few minutes until it dies down, just so I can be in the perfect state of mind to absolutely demolish this 12K we're about to do. Okay, it's still raining, but I've decided to come out anyway. Don't know how that will affect the run. It might do, it might not. But I do know that I'm gonna get very wet. And before you say, oh, why aren't you wearing a jumper? Why aren't you wearing a hood? This is more of a discipline thing, I suppose. It's less easy to do it in a t-shirt because it's more cold. So I figured that would benefit me in some way. Might do, might not. We'll see. Okay, as you can see, I'm completely drenched, but we're coming up to the finish line, or we would be if we were doing the 10K, but we're not, we're doing the 12. So we've got to go for another half a lap around. I'm definitely a lot slower today, mostly because I think I haven't fully recovered from the first run and leg session. See, when I did the first 10K this week, I had not done legs or any running for a long time before that, so they were nice and recovered. But now they're quite sore and achy, so I think that's why I'm not as fast today. But I'm going for longer, so I've kind of made up for it in that sense. Right, we finished with the run. It went well, apart from the fact that my phone died before I managed to finish it. So not great. I will say it was probably one of the harder runs I've done this week, but definitely not of all time. The first two runs I ever did on this training were by far the hardest I have ever done because the legs were hurting, I was tired, all that sort of stuff. Today wasn't really bad. I was never out of breath. It's just my legs were not recovered from the session on Tuesday and my leg session on Wednesday. So I couldn't really go fast enough to be out of breath because my legs were just hurting so much. So that was a challenge. But other than that, I think it went pretty well. Obviously it was raining, so that was slightly annoying. And Strava's having issues actually uploading it because my phone died before I had a chance to like stop and finish the session. But other than that, I think, well, no, I know that will be the last session of the week. I think I've made a lot of progress this week. I finally did 2 sessions a week for the first time since the first week, maybe, which was like 3 weeks ago. And I've been able to do 2 gym sessions at the same time, which is great. Not to mention that the runs are both 10K or above and a decent pace. So I'm very, very happy with that. The 10K is next week. So we'll do 1 session next week and then obviously the 10K itself. That should be fine. But yeah, very, very happy with this week. And I know for a fact there's big changes in my body composition. So I'm excited to show you that on Sunday. So see you there. Okay, we made it to Sunday, last day of the week. This week's been really good, actually. First 2 runs in a week. Maybe since the first week, actually. That's kind of mad. But massive progress this week. We did 2 10Ks, 1 10, 1 12K. Both of which the pace were massively quicker than anything we've done before. One of the biggest lessons I've learned this week is that the route you run makes so much difference. And this, you might think this is obvious, right? And I, for some reason, didn't think about this when I started. But my original route that I was running for the last 4 weeks before this week, it started off on a downhill, which went through like the really like scenic route with a dam and like a little river and like hills and like grassland and stuff, which was really pretty. But because it was downhill on like the grassland where it was muddy and bumpy, I couldn't take advantage of it being downhill. So my pace wasn't even that good. And then the entire rest of the run pretty much was uphill, which is obviously massively painful both on the legs and obviously affects the pace and breathing and all that. I was nerfing myself the whole like last 4 weeks when I could have been going much quicker, which I realized this week when I finally decided to change the route. So it's much more natural for my body to run. I'm not nerfed anymore. Obviously, it's a good thing to be used to hills. It got past the point of being like good training for my legs, and it was just a disadvantage for me. So yeah, biggest learning lesson of this week: pick your route wisely that can actually benefit your training instead of pushing you too far. Because once you actually get a good result, like a good time, it motivates you so much more to go and do it again, and it just obviously like skyrockets your progress so much more. And you can see this in how much fat I lost this week as well. So I'm 83 kilograms this week. And I think at the start I was around 87. So it's actually pretty fast fat loss. It's been about 4 kilograms in 5 or 6 weeks, which is not bad at all. You can definitely say I lost fat this week compared to last week. Obviously I was on maintenance then, but really doing the 10Ks really helped me to lose like more water weight and fat. Obviously it's not going to be all fat. A lot of it's going to be water weight from like sweating and needing to like restore like more food and all that kind of stuff. But my point is, a lot of progress has been made this week, both in my actual times running, my breathing techniques, my pace, but also in like the physical way I see my body as well. So that's great. So overall, this week's been sick. Next week, we've got the actual 10K race in Malmö. I haven't actually received any like package or anything about that. So I'm gonna have to look up that after I finish recording this to make sure I'm actually in the event, because that would really suck if I wasn't. So yeah, 1 running session and then 1 race next week. Should be a good week. Thanks for sticking around this week. Hopefully you found this informative, helpful, entertaining, education, not a clue. Thanks for watching. Peace.